The following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
To the Bombadcast. What is going on, Bombad fam? It's your boy, Scotty Jarrow. Super excited to be here. Very, very, very happy to tear apart Rogue One. Truly the worst Star Wars movie of all time. And, you know, for that reason, I'm just glad that we can all be here to talk about how terrible it is. Maybe. I might have some guests that will not believe the same thing as me, and we'll get into it. And, off to a strong start. Currently, I am so excited to be here because I've got such a great bunch of guests joining us today on Bombadcast, and I don't know. I'm ready to get started. We've got obviously part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network, one of the best that there is. And with that being said, you can find Hollow Chronicles on Monday here. On Tuesday, nothing at the moment. I don't know why that's still in my show notes. Wednesdays, Beyond the Blast Doors live with David and myself. Thursday, Bombadcast, and Friday, tomorrow, Force Connect. And also, real quick plug, tomorrow, Jerry and I will be on Star Wars Explains Bad Batch, I guess you'd say after show. So super excited for that as well. But with that being said, please, if you like us, give us your money. Come follow us on Patreon. Join us, support us. We love the support. We might, so give some of that money to Charlie because Charlie needs to come to Celebration as well. I saw that plea earlier on Twitter. So let's keep the money rolling, people. Let's keep it going. But with that being said, let me bring my co-host in, Jerry, the one and only Canon Junkie. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do that again. The Filler Junkie. Hello, Filler Junkie.
Yes, hello. It's great to be here. Originally, again, I was just saying earlier, I was originally supposed to be your backup. And then I watched Rogue One last night. And I cried a lot on my couch by myself. And so I don't know how much I can help you tonight, buddy, but I pray your career is still intact. Quote unquote career, whatever. I pray your personality's intact after this.
It should be. And joining us, I'm gonna bring my first guest in. It's going to be Troy Henderson, a reoccurring guest of the show, local friend of mine, obviously, and a teacher in the same school district as well. Troy, what's going on?
Not much, man. I'm just here to give you a piece of my mind and let you know that you're a terrible Star Wars fan and that your opinions are trash. And to say hi to the Bombad fam. It's always good to be on.
What's up, Troy? Good to have you back,
Jerry,
buddy. Admiral.
I missed your face. How you been doing?
I've been pretty good.
I am Admiral Radis. He is the hero. He is the unsung hero of the Star Wars universe. No one gives him the respect he deserves.
He damn well is.
Scotty.
Yep. He damn well is, especially after my viewing last night. Seriously, I cried a lot. So there you go. Thank you. I'm going to save a lot of these.
You just cry a lot, though, don't you?
I do.
Have you seen this guy's million view video? Anyway, let's go.
I see movies with him all the time now, and yeah, it's always an experience.
Nice to hear you guys are going steady finally. So
well, also I cried when I watched Rogue One recently because of how terrible it was. So let me bring in my next guest, Charlie Ashby from the Imperial Senate Pod. What's going on, dude?
Charlie.
Hey, how's it going? I hope you're getting ready to choke on your aspirations because I'm not taking this slander from you.
Oh, that's how we do it here. We even have the newer guests come in hot. They want to kill me. I love this. Is literally what I want. This is just exactly how it should be. Now, I don't know if our next guest will be as hostile, which is fine. I like hostility. I welcome it. I'm a school teacher. I have hostility constantly in my classroom. Charlie, you doing okay?
I'm doing fine. Like you said, just begging for money on the internet as always.
Well,
as we do
called OnlyFans.
As we do.
If you really want to make it work.
Yeah, I'll plug that later.
Okay, perfect.
I'm working on a concept for like a Boss Nass video for mine. So we'll just see how that.
I mean, only if we get
Unsurprisingly called
the actor
Boss
himself.
Hass. So
I'm down. I'm down. I don't know if our next guest is down though. I'm gonna bring him in. He is a fantastic writer as well. Mark Newbold from Feather Tracks. What's going on, dude?
Mark.
Evening all. I'm so poor I can't even afford to put the lights on, so I can't put money at all. I've got to say it's a pleasure to be on a show that opens with Paul Stanley, because that I was not expecting that. I'm very impressed.
It's definitely one of our things. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't get it. And, thank you for bringing that up. I got to throw it in just one more time. Not that exact footage, but I want to get an Owa Owa from Paul Stanley. Close enough. Close enough.
Warms my heart.
Gentlemen, I want to bring it up. I want to start this whole conversation off with this. This movie, I will say, is a brilliant movie. I love this movie. But
cool. Right, I'm going to go to bed.
Okay, bye, Charlie. See you later. Nice talking to you. And I want to know about your history with Star Wars, because we all have an individual history with Star Wars. But a lot of us, at least for me, was not an OT kid growing up. I watched them, but I was not. That was not who this was catered to. This movie obviously was catered to fans that grew up with the original trilogy first and foremost. And Mark, I think, not to call you by your age here, but I think you experienced it in theaters, if I'm not mistaken, right?
The OT, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right. You go first then, my man. What we got? How has Star Wars kind of gotten you to this point? Rogue One was one of these movies that you went and saw and it kind of filled a gap for you. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, it's a funny one. When this whole me being up at 2 a.m, ungodly hour thing came about, it was off a tweet I saw that very politely said, "Rogue One is filler." To which I think I replied
politely, yes.
It kind of is. It's beautiful filler. There's worse filler. I like it. And so in terms of the OT, I think now whenever I talk about Star Wars and I talk about the scenario that's happening in the film, we talk about Yavin and all the events of Yavin. I just think Yavin and Scarif are the same thing now. So in that sense, for a film that had been around for sort of 40 years, near as damn it, before Rogue One ever turned up, I know it was knocking around the back of people's heads for years and years, but until it came up, then I never imagined something would sort of work its way to fit so tightly to those concepts from A New Hope, from way back when. So in that sense, yeah, I think now that the original trilogy it's like Douglas Adams. It's like a trilogy in 5 parts, isn't it? The original trilogy is now a 4-parter because Rogue One's managed to stick itself in there. So
that's true.
I'm very fond of this film. Unashamedly.
It did do something that I did not expect, which was connect it perfectly. Truly just seamless. Charlie, what about you?
Yeah, I guess when Rogue One was announced, I was really excited by the concept of the anthology series anyway. Mm-hmm. And what a great way to start off. That's the first thing we actually see, or audience ever saw, ever in the whole world, was that opening crawl to Star Wars. My relationship with Star Wars started right from the beginning. My dad slapped me down as a baby, put the VHS tapes on, constant watching over and over again, to the point where my first word was dun dun, which was my baby brain way of saying the Imperial March to alert my parents to be like, I want to watch Star Wars, please. So they just put it on. And then growing up, I watched the prequels in the theater. I had all these weird experiences, crazy stuff, getting all the figures, watching the 2003 miniseries, all that stuff. Which is why when you said that Rogue One is for the OT fans, which is true, obviously, it's built around before Star Wars. But I will actually say, I think it's actually a really great mixture of both trilogies and not just the OT, because it was the first time we saw a Clone Wars character make the giant leap from
that's true.
Yes,
the big screen. We got to see Bail Organa again. We got to see.
Wait, Chopper wasn't in Clone Wars. Oh, I get what you're saying. Sorry.
So great.
Right. Sorry. And, continue.
And we got all those different elements. We got to see the turbo tank from Revenge of the Sith make a comeback.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, that's true. Little Easter egg.
Hey, I know that. That's from Revenge of the Sith.
And Mustafa.
Yeah, and now wait, we'll get into that one later. That might be one of the greatest things this movie does.
Apex.
That is. That was top
so
tier.
incredible.
Oh, it's incredible. Now, Charlie, this movie, I obviously it means something to you because you also saw this tweet very early in the morning, and you decided maybe I should also be involved.
I think people felt the disturbance in the Force, Scotty. People woke up like someone is dragging Rogue One on Twitter.
I heard the screams.
I have to go. Yes.
That's amazing.
1,000 voices all of a sudden cried out.
Gareth Edwards rang me up.
Yeah, he called you? Man.
He
For a second there, I thought you were Gareth Edwards. Weird. I don't know why. Just for 2 seconds.
Look, you haven't seen me in the same room as him. Just saying that.
That's true. Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Man, that's amazing.
That is intriguing.
Cool. Good to know.
Also, halfway through a room, I get pushed out and replaced with someone else as well.
Wait, I want to get to that. I actually want to get to that because that's something, before we get to the deeper talk of this whole thing, that's something we kind of have to address. But Troy, a little bit of your journey. I know you had those OTs on repeat from what I've told when you were grounded as a kid. So let's hear about this.
There was a lot of time spent with the original trilogy VHSs in my room because I didn't do my homework. Yeah. And I wasn't allowed to go outside. Now, as for Rogue One in particular, I was, ridiculously excited when they announced the anthology, because then that opened the doors for all the things that we're going to get eventually. We all said Boba Fett, and then that came to fruition in Mandalorian.
In a weird way.
You and I are both out of our minds for even the concept of Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And so when Rogue One came out, I remember very specifically in the months leading up to Rogue One, I was at a family gathering, and like some aunts and uncles were talking about the new Star Wars movie, and they're like, so it's the next one and it's going to be about the girl. I saw the trailer and it's the girl. And I was like, no. And I had to have like the but actually nerd kind of moment where I was like, this is actually what it is, and it's going to be out of order in every other year. And like halfway through the talk, I realized that I was far nerdier than everyone else in the room. I took my little sister to see Rogue One, and she enjoys Star Wars as well. But I told her what it was, but I don't think it really registered what like the plot of the movie was until the end, when she takes the plans and hands them to Leia, and you see the Tantive 4 and all that, and then it kind of clicked. And so I remember having that kind of experience of everybody being just generally confused about what this movie was and where it fit in. And all of the press attempting to clarify that. And also, it may be filler, but it's great filler. The White Album, our British friends can tell us, the White Album is entirely filler, and it's the best damn filler that's ever been written.
Here we go.
Filling is the best part of the strudel, right? You know, I mean, it's all that.
I could wax.
You don't eat a muffalata for the bread. You eat a muffalata for all of the meat and cheese and olive oil in the middle. It's the filler. It's the best part.
Charlie, educate us. What are you going to say, man?
Yeah, I've never understood the complaint about filler. like especially when it comes to the TV shows. Like I think someone mentioned last week's Bad Batch episode was filler. I'm like, it's a story.
Yes.
You don't read a chapter and go, that was filler. I won't read the rest of the book then.
Right. That's okay. If you are a person who does a Star Wars podcast / YouTube show / anything to do with it besides just watching the movies and going, I wonder where Luke Skywalker was in this one. We eat up the filler. I just went and spent so much money on a stack this thick of paperback trades of Star Wars comic books. Mm-hmm. That no one knows about. It's not going to matter to any of the movies and stuff. And we eat it up, man. Like I hate the word filler. I'm using it ironically tonight, obviously.
I like it.
But but that's, to me, it's just like it, especially with like episodic storytelling. It's not filler. It's just that's the next adventure. That's the next story. Yeah. They're telling a story. If it works for you or not.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, I think it's just an easy excuse for criticism sometimes. Like, if you're going to criticize something, be more specific. Like, are comic books filler? It depends on what you view it. Like, are you interested in the comic book stories? Because if you're not, don't buy a comic book.
True. Right.
You know? Like, oh, this isn't like the films. Well, no, because a movie is 2 hours long, has actors, it's completely different to that. So
right. And they don't have an Admiral Akbar, General Grievous amalgamation in them either, which they should.
I want to clarify.
Yet. That's a very much a yes. Yes, very true.
Now,
we should do.
I will say this too. When I said the filler comments, like Jerry said,
oh, here we go.
Filler kid. No. I'm not.
Let him have it. Let him have it.
Coward.
No, I want to say this because it's important to address. I do enjoy this movie, but there are some things that I think this movie does, and it may be due to some of the things I'm about to mention. It's obvious this movie kind of had a rocky production, right? Literally, what's the man's name that came in and kind of directed the other half of this movie? Straight up said it was an absolute shit show. Like, it's his exact words. Could someone refresh me on his name? I completely forget.
I'm sorry. I'm just following
Chris.
No.
What's his name? Was it Chris?
We're gonna get some research done in here, I'd imagine, in a second. Someone in the comments could tear me apart. But
this is exactly why we need a producer right here. This is exactly the exact
None of us researched this. We've never seen the film.
Wait, what is this movie?
I just watched it last night. I have no clue. So.
Well, he's doing Andor. He's part of the Andor team now because apparently that show needed it too. Apparently Cassian's just a complicated character. But we know that this movie actually had quite a rocky production.
Tony Gilroy?
Tony Gilroy, yes.
Gilroy.
Oh, right, the guy, just who absolutely hated it.
He said he hated Star Wars.
Or it's just like these nerds will eat anything. You just give them a good story and put beeps and boops over it.
So,
and he's right.
Yeah, and he's right. It's filler.
He's 100% correct.
He came in and he saved the day apparently, and obviously, what's interesting too is the marketing was really a lot different than I thought it would. You know what I mean? No. Rogue One definitely had a rocky production. You can look it up. It was bad. Like apparently Tony Gilroy really bad.
It wasn't Solo bad, but it was bad.
No, it wasn't Solo. Solo was bad enough to like make it a real public and awkward. This was like under the table. But with that being said, the marketing was also kind of strange because a lot of the things that were shown in the trailer were like 100% scrapped by the time the movie came out. You know, like the one shot in particular of them running up against the AT-AT walkers, I was like, what is about to happen? This is crazy looking. And they had all the plans in their hands and they're all like in a row. Like I was like, that is going to be really wild to see in theaters. But I don't know if that has anything to do with some of the choppiness of this movie, whereas I think some moments in this are a little strange. Other moments are incredible. I don't know if anyone has any more commentary on that kind of section of this. Do y'all?
Yeah. I think it's got to be the first film where the Blu-ray extras came out before the film. I mean, like you say, so much of it was shot and so much of it was changed and tweaked and altered, like you say. Gilroy comes in and does loads of reshot. I think they reshot about 70% of it, something crazy like that. Yeah. So it's like Solo. I mean, Solo's the same. They basically remade Solo. But as you say, with Rogue One being the start of this new Star Wars story thing, which I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it later. If Disney Plus had been a thing 3 years before, I don't think we'd have had these as films. They'd have been TV shows. Just this whole setup for Solo feels like a TV show. Rogue One would have just kind of become Cassian, and that's how it would have been. But I kind of wish this had carried on. Like Charlie says, I was excited for this anthology vibe. I thought it was a great idea and Star Wars story and so on. But yeah, Rogue One, certainly had a rocky start.
Sure. And Charlie, what do you want to say about it? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with Mark. I think, but the thing I also think about as well when it comes to like productions and stuff is, yes, Rogue One had a rocky production. Most films have a rocky production.
Yeah. Jaws had a rocky production.
Every film has had no film is done perfectly. No film has doesn't have accidents or like script rechanges and stuff like that. So I feel like part of that is just you have to go and absorb the film for what it is. I think like if you're going into a film and you're going, well, that wasn't like this in this moment or this moment. Like, yes, I guess the trailers were different, but you have to sort of judge the film by what it is, not what it could have been, what I feel like a lot of people do sometimes. So for me, I went in, absorbed the film. I was like, I didn't come out and go, well, that one TIE fighter shot wasn't in it, so therefore I'm going to give this a 1 star. And then Star Wars is ruined. Kathleen Kennedy, get out of it. You have to go in and sort of absorb what you can from that story and sort of delve into it. And then, yeah, you can go back and look at the production. I'm sure the whole book would be interesting to read. And Solo's one I can imagine is incredibly interesting. But at the same time, when I watch Solo, I don't go, well, Phil and Lord got fired from this. I go, well, there's Han Solo and Chewbacca. They're doing a heist. That's what my priority is at that moment.
Pretty much. And I don't know. I wrote something in the notes as well. This is the second newest Star Wars movie under Disney. And I think that's one thing that people were like kind of apprehensive about, obviously. Same when Marvel was bought out by Disney. They were like, oh, it's going to be Disney-fied. It's going to be ruined. And that was a huge complaint. For some reason,
I never understood that. Understood that.
And it still is
buying something. Yeah. It's like they think that they're going to put like frickin' Cinderella, and like birds are gonna dress Luke Skywalker in the morning or something.
Oh, that'd be dope, though.
Wouldn't that be cool? Like it's a new? We already have like Ezra was really kind to animals. Like it would probably be Ezra, like in the Ahsoka series when they find Ezra, because we know that's gonna happen. It's gonna be like there's gonna be like a couple of convertees like draping a robe over him or something, and he's gonna be going.
It's Chopper just angrily throwing clothes at him.
I actually love that.
Oh my gosh!
So
Chopper, but it's just sorry, Dave Filoni in like just a chopper like bucket. Like
his hair's painted orange.
There's like a hole, and he's just going beep, bop, 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 Like anyway, that's all I have, Scotty. Go on, don't pull me in. Just
no. I think it's important to bring it up too. The Disney era Star Wars is a pretty interesting thing to see unfold. Now, like you said, we've got Disney Plus, so this wouldn't have been a problem then. It would have all been really nice. But to have it come out when it came out is the most Disney. Okay, have it come out when it came out. It meant a lot to a lot of people. It apparently this movie, and this sounds really bad. Kind of shook people to their core in a good way, that Star Wars can be, how would you say, war, really full of war, kind of grimy, kind of violent, kind of, I don't know. To me, it's not made for kids. Does that sound?
It shook Jeddah to its core.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right about that.
It was kind of pitched at Celebration, the whole thing, when it was supposed to be Gareth and Josh Trank coming out, and then Josh Trank got a cold and never turned up, apparently. And the whole thing was that one beautiful pre-production piece, probably Doug Chang or somebody, of the U-wing landing and then diving out of it, and it looked like Private Ryan. The way it sold to us was, this is Star Wars meets Private Ryan. And then the impression you got was that Gareth went away and made Star Wars meets Private Ryan, and Disney went, oh, God, we can't show this to kids, So, and then they do all the reshoot. But who knows? It certainly had that tone, though, didn't it? This wasn't Forces of Destiny.
I think Star Wars does a really great job at subtle adult, like there's moments that are kind of like horrified. I really love the Vader sequence, and the moment where we first see him in the back of the tank felt very like Hammer-esque, very much the big castle, the decrepit. Like you don't get to quite see the face. It's very Empire.
Nope.
It's so good.
It's great.
They just take it away from you, and I think that's what Star Wars does best. It doesn't have to be full on Anakin burning.
Less is more
all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Troy, I wanted to ask you too for that same idea. It's the first one to kind of feel like it was made for people, probably above the age of 14, like really above the age. Like A New Hope, obviously, and a lot of the prequels always felt like it was made from anyone 5 and up. Well, what's your take on that? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I think, pardon me. I think anytime you talk about like what is the audience of any sort of art form, you get into the weeds there, because then it's just, it goes into your brain and you interpret it a certain way, and that's going to be different than the people who created the film and all that kind of stuff. But it does very clearly, as y'all say, have that tone from the very from towards the beginning when Andor shoots his little rebellion consorter. And they, from that moment, before you even, that's how you're introduced to Andor. From that moment on, you're like, oh, this is going to be tonally different than everything that we've seen before. And it's going to be, it is going to be that sort of military movie that's going to be seedy, that's going to be greasy, it's going to have that kind of stuff. But it still managed to be a Star Wars film. And
That's true.
it's kind of hard to it's very hard to quantify what really makes something a Star Wars film, because you can look at just science fiction in general, and there have been things all over that very clearly are just attempting to rip off Star Wars and, you know, things of that nature. But if you can give Disney credit for one thing, I think it's that even the movies that have been more controversial, Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, I've never heard people say it didn't feel like Star Wars. They might have said, oh, it's not my Luke, or, you know, I'm not happy with Palpatine still being alive, or whatever it is. I've never heard people say it didn't feel like Star Wars. They've done an excellent job of really capturing what exactly makes Star Wars beyond just TIE fighter noises and lightsaber sounds. And I think Rogue One was a large part of that.
That's beautiful. That's very well said. Yeah, and well, I think the problem for this movie comes down to me that there's one thing that I don't like, and it's the fact that everyone you do grow attached to this movie, which understandably so, has to die because they would not end up being in the rest of the movie. I mean, I completely can rationally think about that. That makes sense to Scott. But what Scott doesn't like is the fact that you get built up some of the best characters. Some of the, like K2SO is undoubtedly the best droid to me we've ever had in Star Wars. Just like in terms of CGI too, is like just unbelievably real. It's like perfect. Like my eyes can't tell. And he ends up unfortunately dying. Now, will he show back up in Cassian? Probably. I mean, let's be real. But I hate to know that we know their fates now. Whereas I love watching Rebels and the sequel trilogy because you don't know their fates. You really, most of them you don't, at least. And it's kind of fun to see where these stories can go. But now we're getting backstory, much like the prequels. We're getting backstory again.
Well, you know Hamlet's going to die the whole time. Hamlet's still fantastic to watch or read, or however you're experiencing it.
I can agree.
Yes, it's the journey. It's the journey, not the destination. Absolutely. We knew what Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to die in the prequels. Your favorite movies,
yes,
right, and stuff.
Yes,
everything about the prequels, you know.
Yeah.
Hold on. The thing with the prequels is that it had 3 movies to make me fall in love with some of these characters that we then get reintroduced again in the OT. Most of them, at least, except for obviously Qui-Gon. But literally everyone else kind of, and Padme. They all kind of get their moments later, too.
And the Jedi.
And Qui-Gon, they goofed because of the soundtrack.
Yeah, we all cry when we see a Bibble at Padme's funeral.
Yes.
He doesn't say a word.
No, he doesn't talk about communication disruptions. Nothing.
That's his character arc. No,
it's unthinkable.
I wrote about this for the Bad Batch episode 1, and I think what I love about this time period so much, and personally, since Rogue One came out, my new all-time, if someone said, what's your favorite Star Wars trilogy? It's Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, A New Hope. I think those 3 films together is such a fantastic trilogy. And the reason why I love that is because that time period is what Star Wars is kind of based on. Like you say, what's Star Wars? For me, in that time period, it's based on 2 core themes, and that's tragedy and hope. Mm-hmm. And Rogue One sums up everything about those 2 themes. You got tragedy in the fact that, yes, all the characters die, and that's sad, and we grow attached to them. But their deaths create hope in the fact that they get the plans to Leia. And that starts the original trilogy.
Yes. That's exactly, honestly, what I was thinking last night, watching it like for the first time, and it felt like forever. I can't remember the last time I actually sat down and legitimately watched it through without like messaging or anything, like Twittering, all that kind of stuff. But the whole speech really hit for me this time, different than it has the whole time. I don't know if it's just because of everything the world's kind of going through right now, but the whole hope message that Jyn has in her message, where she's like, if you don't stand up right now, like she's the one basically pushing them to go fight. She's the one who inspires them to go to Scarif and stuff like, right? And it's so just that whole impassioned speech is just absolutely incredible. And of course, even the random dude in the back, what is she proposing? Like even that. And then Rex saying, let the ghost speak,
Rex.
Is that canon? Is that
No. It just to me it sounds like D. Bradley Baker.
Look, I'm all here for a special edition version of Rogue One. They get Tamora Morrison just to hang out.
We just put like everyone in there, like Zeb is walking around in the background.
Well, they call for General Syndulla in the background.
Yeah, and the Ghost is in the film.
And the Ghost is in it.
You know, I'm a self-proclaimed canon junkie, and watching through it, I am like, there is so much. It touches so much. It touches the prequels. Yeah. It introduced Vader's castle. You see the Ghost so many times, which was the first time we were like, oh, there's the Ghost. There's there's something from the shows besides Saw Gerrera, and
which was cool too.
Even that was like, I remember the day they announced Saw Gerrera was going to be in it. I remember where I was when that stupid news dropped. And it's just, there's a ton of stuff in there. So again, again, filler, but the stuff I eat up, the stuff that like we all are like, yes, give more. I want the connections. I want to see where these people are at this time. So that's why I'm like, yes, the galaxy, it might make people feel like it's small, but I want to see these characters that we've been introduced to and introduce new characters. I want to see all of them. Bring it all in. It doesn't feel small to me. I want to see where we're going. So,
well, one thing I wanted to ask everyone here, because, we're all huge fans of this. We talk about it constantly. We all have a presence somewhere in some facet of the internet that really enjoys this stuff. And I know we all have our list to a certain extent. Now, I'm not going to make you recite, all your 11 in a row, but if you were to say top half, bottom half, middle, where does this movie kind of rank now? Because we've gotten so much in the past 5 years, and we've gotten so much as well, previous, 6 movies on top of that. So, Mark, does this one higher, lower, middle? What about you? What do you think?
Oh, higher. Definitely higher.
Higher? Okay. Why?
Very high. Yeah. Why?
Like top 3 high or like?
High. Oh yeah, it's top 3 for me.
Nice.
And I never thought anything would get close to Star Wars and Empire for me, but this is right bumper to bumper. Because I'm so old and set in my ways, I'm sure I'll die thinking Empire's the greatest film ever, even if literally the greatest, definably better film than Empire ever comes out. And I'm just going to be too old to get it like I did when I was 9 when Empire came out. So because that just gripped me, and even that grew on me. Because I had Star Wars on video for years, and I had Jedi on video, on pirate video before I ever got my hands on Empire. But then Empire just gripped me because I was West End Games role playing 3 times a week, and it just fit that vibe. So that's how Empire got me. But the Citizen Kane of Star Wars might yet to come out, and it will still never be as good as Empire. But that being said, Rogue One is like right there for the reasons I said. Because just thematically, story wise, Charlie summed it up beautifully. Tragedy and hope in one film. It really, I never thought of it that way, but it really is. So it just captures everything with awesome, cool characters.
See, and I will agree to that. It does capture a lot of the thematic things that Star Wars does really well. And I respect that it's people's top 3. I'm never going to denounce that it's not deserved to be higher up, because this movie spoke to some people, and some people, unfortunately, me didn't speak to. Charlie, where does it rank on your little scale?
Yeah, near the top. I don't know if it's my top 3, but it's my favorite of the new Disney films.
Oh, interesting.
That's not a like before everyone jumps in and goes, but I like, well, yeah. I love all of those films as well, but it's my favorite out of the new bunch of films that came out.
Okay. How often do you watch it? I'm being serious, because we all have our schedules, but how often do you get a chance to watch this one?
Once, if I can get it once a year,
Oh, it's okay. That's more than me. I saw it in theaters like 6 times, and then didn't really see it all that much after. I think that. I had to look. I absolutely love so much about this film, so I had to rewatch it over and over again. Some of the core stuff I love, Mustafar. I love Grand Moff Tarkin. I thought that was incredible how they did that. I know people didn't like, it's the weirdness of it, obviously, but I feel like if you've ever watched a Hammer horror film, I feel like Peter Cushing would absolutely find it hilarious. Yeah. The sort of macabre way that they brought him back. Sure.
I mean, he came back from the dead, kind of.
Literally.
That's pretty cool.
my mom did not know he was dead. Like, it was that good in the theater. Like, you know, people that didn't know, that just aren't in the know of that kind of stuff. I was like, what'd you think of that? She goes, oh, he's great. I didn't think he'd be that old. I was like,
that must be a mom thing, because that was my mother too. I was like, Mom, he's been dead since like 94, I think. So
yeah, it's just crazy what they could do. And I'm glad. See, this is interesting because I've heard a lot of things about this movie in particular, but you know, top of people's or near the top of people's list is something that I don't feel the same way. And maybe Troy, you do. I don't know. Where does it rank on your list?
Very firmly in the middle.
Okay. All right. Okay. Why is that?
Because it's still not without its flaws. Now all movies have flaws, even Star Wars. But I think there are some points that sort of don't quite bring it up to the level of Empire and Jedi. And then you and I share a twisted affinity for Phantom Menace that I don't think many people in the universe share.
Hand up right here. Yeah. Phantom Menace
like
Defense
pro
Squad.
Phantom
Right
Menace,
here.
absolutely.
It's my favorite prequel. Prequel.
It's and we're not here to talk about Phantom Menace. We can do that on another.
Good.
But the show is called.
It's just the background.
Bombadcast. But I think that as Charlie put, and I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier, that Disney has sort of captured Star Wars in this, and it's because Star Wars relies heavily on the visual effects and George's vision and how that vision has been recreated and re-executed after his films, but it also relies on themes and a balance of those two. And Rogue One in particular does capture that. But I still think that there are parts of it that I'm sure that we'll get into that are so wonky. But for the concept that it is filler is
here we go
ridiculous.
Okay.
And I think that I think very similarly about all the Disney movies that they have very high highs and very low lows. Mm-hmm. And Rogue One's high highs outweigh its lows regardless. So the middle of the pack in Star Wars is not like an indictment. It's just saying that I love, 5 other films more.
Sure. Okay. That's fair. Jerry, your list.
First of all, for one thing, this chat is absolutely incredible right now. We need to retitle this episode "The Trial of Scott J-Rowe." Like, that's what we need to retitle this episode. It honestly, it's probably towards the bottom of my list. I don't know. It and Solo probably flip-flop back and forth for me. Which again, Mark, like you were saying, I wish they would have kept going with the anthology films. And I mean, technically, I guess you could say that the live action shows are a continuation essentially of that kind of storytelling. Just on the smaller screen, still very epic and all that. But I think it's firmly in the middle. I like the OT and all of the Disney era, the new, like the sequel trilogy, all the films that have come out since 2015 are all above the prequels for me right now. And then I've got Phantom Menace, then Revenge of the Sith, and Attack of the Clones way at the bottom. I love them. I hate these lists because I love all of them. They're all. It's a Dagwood sandwich. It's like a giant tall sandwich that the whole thing's delicious.
Would you say that there's lots of filler in that sandwich?
Oh, the filler is the best part of the sandwich, right? No one goes to the sandwich. I mean, bread. You can, but if you just have white bread, it's just whatever's in between, man. I mean, whatever's in between is the best part. But I think that's where I land. It is firmly, I think, in the middle. It flip flops with Solo and stuff. My list is it's an amorphous blob that constantly is changing.
This is the perfect
just depending
balance.
on my mood.
Because for me, we don't know already. It's like at the very bottom.
It's not even on your list. It's so low.
And nothing against it. Like I said several times before these people in the chat find my address and send me anthrax. Before I
look, people are only watching because Reagan is only watching because she's half high. She's getting a contact high. So.
Okay. So wait, hold on. It's at the bottom for me because I feel like everything done, even I love the sequel trilogy a lot. And like, if I were to really do a ranking of it, it would be maybe second to last for my ranking. And I just Lucas Night event. I just really, really, really hate the fact that we lose some of the best characterizations of different parts of Star Wars. The person that's a believer and he's blind, like it's so cool. It's like you're led by faith. Then you've got Baze, who's someone that's, you know, kind of resistance against his own faith, what he's been brought up in. You've got a defector. You've got someone who has been in this fight since he was 6 years old. Like, no one understands me. This has been my battle my entire life. You got someone else who has been abandoned by her family, who has a dad that's an imperial scientist. Like, these are such great characters that we only get for, you know, what, 30 minutes on the screen each? It's just a bummer. I guess that's for me. Oh, look, AK07's here. That is just a bummer for me. And I think it's fair to say for most of y'all, it's probably a bummer too, right? I mean, K2SO was incredible. I'll go back on that. You know? Anyone? Any takers?
I mean,
okay. No, Charlie, you first.
No, buddy, you got to climb out. You got to climb out. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, he's great. He's a great character, but the core is that he's sacrificed. They all sacrifice themselves.
I agree.
And they're all interesting characters, yes, but they're there to sort of push the galaxy and push the rebellion to be like, yeah. I mean, the rebellion's made up of thousands of people like this. The galaxy's made up of thousands of people like this, but they're scared. That's the point of like the fascism of it all. It's people would have spoken out and fought against it. Even the rebellion are like they're not pushing as much as they could do. They've got this whole senators being like, well, no, we can't do this. We can take it to the Senate. We can do this. It's Jin that sort of pushes them forward. I feel like in the future we get to see a bit more of that, and we get to see like more people like Leia sort of pushing forward. But
yes,
those characters are there, and yes, it's sad that they obviously die. Spoiler alert, in case you haven't seen the film. But then all these characters, you know, it adds to their arcs, it adds to their characters. They're willing to die for that. They're willing to help prevent the galaxy from facing that evil threat, and that to me just says more to their characters than it would have if they were like, if they appeared in like The Rise of Skywalker for like 5 minutes and been like, hello, I'm Bodhi, I did this once. Like, cool.
We kind of got that
like
novelization.
Seeing Wedge for 5 seconds, you're like, that's great.
Yeah.
But
it wouldn't work if they were characters, and because they're such. Charlie's right, because they're such good characters. You give a damn when they die. You know, if they were unlikable characters, if they were people you didn't care about. And again, you know, that whole Senate sequence when half of them are so paralyzed by fear and indecision and not knowing what to do, you needed somebody, a spark plug like Jin, to come in from the, because they view her with just, you know, with suspicion because of who her dad is, because where have you been for the whole of this fight? I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. That whole attitude towards her. And yet she's the one that activates them with these words from the heart, you know, that you see paralleled later with Leia. You can almost see that she becomes an inspiration. She's like the Joan of Arc character. She's the inspirational character, isn't she? That people later will look to as, wow, she took a stand. You know, she was living on the run basically for most of her life. And then this is her shining moment. That's why I don't want to see other Jin stories, because I think some people in life, some people have that, you know, that day, that amazing day, that one thing they do that defines their life. Shirley Temple was 3 when she was a movie star, you know, and then she goes and does other amazing things, but everybody remembers her as a kid, and you know, and just lots of moments that people have, and this is Jin's big moment to activate the rebellion, really, because it's all there. You've seen it in Rebels as the cells are coming together. You know that Bale's been keeping things going along in the background. Mothma, they're all there. You know, they're all in that cutscene for Revenge of the Sith. So you know, they're all there for nearly 2 decades. Obi-Wan's on Tatooine, keeping an eye on Luke. Leia's and all. Everybody's there in place. They're all playing the long game, waiting for it to go. You could argue Jin is the spark that lights the fuse to steal Poe's line. You know.
The Joan of Arc comparison is incredible. Like that's perfect, absolutely. Because how many stories of Joan of Arc are true, and how many of them have just helped inspire people for centuries. I mean, one of my favorite retcons is the idea that Rogue Squadron was named after Rogue One.
Yeah.
And that's the characters continuing and making an effect for years to come.
And now we have Rogue Squadron coming out, right? Like in a couple of years, and so he's literally turning around now.
Turn me around.
Oh no, but it's an incredible comparison, and I don't even know. It's like in the comics that no one cares about. Like Luke and Leia and Han all go back to Jeddah. Like the Ashes of Jeddah arc is incredible. And Jeddah is still there. It's a dying planet now. It's like a bastion of the evil of the Empire. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. The novelization describes the death of the family with the little girl who's crying in the streets and stuff. Like, it is just absolutely horrifying. I can't think of it anymore right now.
There's so many cool little details that I think are so interesting about Rogue One. And obviously, like I said, to my thing, like if you go in, it's not in the actual film itself, and sometimes it depends on how these stories are told, whether it's through comics and stuff, which then it makes it valid. Like that's why I think with Rogue One, I feel like it deserved to be a movie. It is a movie, whereas Solo feels like a standalone Disney Plus series that they just turned into.
Okay. And that was going to be something I wanted to ask. Like, could Rogue One have been better as a series? And of course, we do have Andor, right? And I'm so excited. I love espionage. I love spy movies. My favorite movies are Bond films. I can watch them for days because, you know, the seedy underground stuff we got at the beginning of Rogue One with Andor is apparently what the whole show is going to be about, thanks to Tony Gilroy saving it. I'm being stupid.
And the reason why I'm really more interested in Andor and the way that character is getting his own series is because one of the things I really gripped on in like the behind the scenes material and stuff is that he was a separatist. Like he comes from the separatist side of the galaxy, and we don't get to see their story told. We don't get to see the people that were quite rightly like against, you know, they might have had like it didn't like the Republic, the way that it was treating them and stuff. We don't get to see their stories in the way that he talks about like the clone troopers. So I feel like that might be a really great way to delve into that character. And I think that's why that character's getting his own show. Whereas the others, you don't really need. Solo definitely felt like a standalone film. Like you can cut.
Solo would have worked great as a series, though, wouldn't it? Yeah, Adventure of the Week.
Yes,
that's the Republic serial right there, isn't it? Han and Chewie do it like the Brian Daly books, to planet, doing missions and runs.
Oh
and
man,
but
I want it so bad.
Cassian as a show, that's the one I'm weirdly more than any of the other shows that are coming. That's the one I'm the most excited about because of the building of the era, the coalescence of the rebellion, all the characters we know from not only from A New Hope but also from Rogue One. Obviously, you know, the fact that you might see Enfys Nest in this show. You know, there's loads of things. You could see the characters from Rebels. It's plumb in the middle of that era. I think it's 5 years before A New Hope, isn't it? It starts. So they've given themselves a good run of time.
Yeah.
So. And they're filming it at the seaside, which all makes it great. So, you know, there's so many cool things about it. I think it could be amazing. But Solo would have been brilliant. I swear, Bob Iger sometimes must think, why didn't I think of this? You know, somebody think of 5 years
why
before.
They did that,
yeah, totally great. Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
He said publicly that he actually screwed that movie. Like he was like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have released it when we did. Like he was aware, and you know. That's really important. If you watch the Andor BTS, they even said these characters were loved by many people. Rick made an incredible comment in here. Rick mentioned the fact that it was the first time he saw his ethnicity
I was about to bring that up,
represented on screen. And you know, you watch that movie and you hear it. You know that
it's a very important thing
has a very thick, beautiful accent, and it's not covered, and neither does any of the moments in this movie doesn't feel like it's forced in any way either. It's so natural. So. You're right. It's true. And now you get a show about a character that I really attached with. I thought their character was great too. I was happy to know that we're getting more of them.
And I mean, while we're on the subject of Cassian and stuff, I mean, this whole story is a redemption arc for him. It's a redemption story. So Cassian is going to be. It might be darker than Rogue One even.
True.
Not, and again, like Charlie said, they find a great balance. I don't think he's going to be like. I don't think it's going to be Saving Private Ryan. You're going to see like freaking people trying to put their guts back into their stomach or anything. It's not going to be that adult, but I think we are going to see a little bit of darkness. But what I loved, a part that really stuck out for me is I love that you've got this group of people in the rebellions. Maybe they were separatists, maybe they were different people, but people who were like spies, assassins, different people who have done bad things to help promote the rebellion. They come to Jyn and they're like, all we've ever done is we just hoped that what we were doing was good. We want to do one good thing and kick this off. And it's such a beautiful moment. And just that Cassian is there making that he's such a strong character. And I don't know. I'm getting more excited for the series as it goes along. It was originally the one I was like, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to love it. Right. But like none of us here are probably going to miss it at all.
And
I'd be surprised. Maybe Scotty.
That's like a direct thing from George. The prequels themselves, they did a great job, and the Clone Wars, I sort of include them all together. Yeah, did a great job at explaining the Clone Wars and how Palpatine manipulated both sides of the situation. Because there's people on the Separatist side that aren't all bad, and there's people that on the Republic side that aren't all bad. They've both been screwed over by the galaxy. I mean, look at Saw Gerrera and Cassian Andor both on the same side, but they weren't 20 years ago.
Yes, and they're so different in terms of extremism as well, which is
interesting.
That movie does a very nice. In fact, I do like Rogue One, the fact that it shows two facets of the same side. You've got the extremist who is like, can't trust a single person. Have you come here to kill me? You got all of that, and then you've got a character who has grown up with it and has experienced it too, and they have two very different perspectives. I will say you have turned me around a little bit on some of the discussions we've had, in particular the comment on Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, and then A New Hope, because it's all different characters each time.
Have you ever watched them all together on one going? It's incredible.
Yes,
I'm gonna literally do that over the summer. I had the summers off. I'm 100% doing that one day. Troy, you're coming over now. Troy, I wanted to ask you too. We haven't had to give you a chance to talk. What's your take on all this, man? Is there any things you want to talk about thematically that you enjoy?
Well, you texted me today. I'm on my off hour and I look at my phone. Message from Scott Jara, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be something about the stream tonight, and it's a picture of Baze and a picture of, was it Chirrut or someone? Of K2, and you said pointless characters, pointless deaths, and I know you're just trying to rile the pile a little bit, but I think what I told you was all characters are pointless. Everything is pointless. Star Wars doesn't matter. It's at some point it's a movie. It doesn't matter. However, the capacity to move you, regardless of the fact that it is fiction, is what gives it power. Have you seen The Departed? Everybody dies. Have you seen All Quiet on the Western Front? Reservoir Dogs? The Hateful Eight? I could just go on and on and on, right? Dr. Strangelove, it's just when you know that it's going, and not all of those, that the characters are all going to die, but in general, the fact that characters end doesn't mean that they were pointless. And I think, now I am going to disagree with the general consensus of the room. Is I found Jyn Erso's speech fell really flat.
Okay.
For me personally, I think that a lot of
Thanks for showing up. Thanks for showing. I'm sorry.
This will be my last episode on the Bombadcast. So I'm gonna go out. But and that's just a personal thing. I find that when you have characters giving these sort of big speeches to everyone, that it is far less compelling. I find that individual character actions or individual character conversations are far more moving. And so when Jyn Erso puts the gun in K2's hand, I think that's a way more important moment than Jyn Erso's speech. I think when I think if you want to keep talking about Jyn, because I do identify and care about her as a character, I think that when she's holding her father in her hands, and she knows that the rebellion killed him, but she knows that her father made it his life's work to build this he says, I know they were going to build it without me, so I'm going to build this weakness in. You're the person who knows now. You've got to do something about it. I think when she, even though she's now literally working with people who killed her father and is still agreeing to work with them to bring about what her father wanted, I think that's a very powerful thing. And I think that those kind of moments are far more important than when you just say hope like 12 times.
I mean, that's a good argument too. I mean, it's fair, it's very valid.
But regardless of whether you and then that's just a me thing. I know that like people are persuaded by speeches, or oration is a thing. So whether you were identified with her and were compelled by her because of the speech or because of whatever, it's still a powerful thing to know that these characters are fated for death, right? You know, and they're doing it every way. And I think that that's something that a lot of people can identify with, right? That's a tale just as old as time itself, right? You know, theirs was not to make reply, theirs was not to question why, theirs was but to do or die. Like people write poems, people do all sorts of stuff about that theme. So I think the idea that it's pointless is, and I know you're just trying to, stir the pot and everything, but I won't have it.
The one thing, the reason I kind of brought this whole thing together was because I made a comment that it was a filler about the story of a super weapon, because it is. And that's okay to admit that it was all about a super weapon. But I think, to me personally, in terms of canon, that's what this movie does absolutely best, like through and through. It explained things that no one knew we needed to hear. In particular, why there was why did it explode from the middle? Like that's amazing. And honestly, Nick's comment right here is what made me want to say it, because Galen is the character that I came out just in love with. I'm like, man, you are such a great character for putting an actual flaw into this thing that no one else would notice but yourself, which, led to the actual explosion that Luke could actually pull off, right? And that's the one plot hole. That's the one plot development that I thought was just pure genius. Okay, sorry. No, that's fine. It's fair. But
sorry.
Did anyone?
I have a visceral reaction anytime someone says plot hole after 2017. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Look, to defend Scotty for a moment. I know.
Yes.
Bold words.
No, you're good. Yeah.
Like the film is absolutely.
I'm listening.
The film's absolutely about the core themes of tragedy, hope, fighting against things. The speech, like the hope speech. Yes, it's a bit generic, but also it's kind of to be like, centrism has a place sometimes, but like in this situation where the Empire is about to blow us up, maybe we should get off our bums and stop them. And then all these senators are like, we should give them evidence to the senators. And it's like, well, no, because there is no Senate really. They're going to be disbanded like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's about pushing people, and I feel like, but also it's a Star Wars movie, and there's a cool scene with Darth Vader when he's like doing cool stuff, and there's a scene with the Death Star, and every shot of the Death Star is awesome.
That's incredible.
Absolutely, just John Knoll being like, excuse me, Kathy Kennedy, can I make a Death Star model? She went, okay. Can I make a movie about it? It's like, yeah, sure. Like you can celebration. It's like, yeah, we molded everything. Like we did the trench. Like we did he just wanted to make a Death Star model, and they made a film about it, and that's cool.
And it's in his garage too. I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, that's what I was saying. You look at the film now. I mean, I think I said it on Twitter when we were talking about this the other day. There's nothing really in Rogue One that you learn on the mega scale that you didn't learn in the Scroll Up for a New Hope 40 years ago. It's rebel spies have stolen the plans to the Death Star, and here they are being delivered by Princess Leia, sort of thing. So it's all expanding upon that. But it's Star Wars, isn't it? Star Wars has become its own self-referential thing. You don't need to pull inspiration from anywhere other than Star Wars at this point. So you can take that nuts and bolts of Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, or whatever, however they plan it, and fill it out with all the cool Star Wars stuff you want to know. I want to know what Bail was doing. I want to know about these new characters. Let's kind of see into why they're called Rogue Squadron and all these different things. And you can easily fill out with interesting content the guts, or the filler, if you want to call it that, of what became Rogue One, because really you don't need Rogue One. You know what happens in Rogue One in the Scroll. It's like the 1976 novel of Star Wars, the very first thing you read in that book is a description of the prequel trilogy. People forget that if you read that novel in November 76, the very first thing you were reading about was the prequels. It was the Republic rotting from within and basically the prequels. And then you get to the bit where Luke's looking through his binoculars at a Star Destroyer, and it goes on from there. So, we've done this for years, but I think Rogue One does it with such panache, and it did, like Scotty said, it had a really rotten time to get made, and they must have really took a bath on the money, and thank goodness it took 1.2 billion nearly, so it covered its nose quite comfortably. Sure. But you know what I mean, it wasn't an easy production, which has kind of been a running theme in modern Star Wars. They've not quite stuck the landing completely yet. They will. They've got to, but at least on film production. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I think now with Rogue One, I think with 5 years, beyond Rogue One, which is crazy. I think you can now look back at that and see how it from that film coming out, it's just completely bled out into the rest of Star Wars, literature, and just the way we think about Star Wars now is very much informed by a lot of things from Rogue One. And I think also, just to keep rabbiting on, it's such a brave film because of exactly why Scotty said, I get to know all these cool characters and then they all die. That's a ballsy thing to do.
It is.
Hasbro ain't too many toys at the back of that, are they?
And it proved that Star Wars, it was the film and the product that said, this franchise can survive outside the Skywalker saga.
Yeah. You know what?
Yes, Darth Vader's in it. Absolutely.
I was really thinking about that, actually.
Like this much.
Yeah. Well, but one thing, not to end this discussion, but kind of to round one thing out. Most people, and this is not a judgment, right? We've got people that are all like us in this chat and in the video, and I would say 10% of the Star Wars fandom who are super fans that will watch and talk and read and look at everything. Then there's others that Jerry calls normies, which are the people that go to the movies. No, I've
given that up because I think it's used by QAnon now. So I'm good.
Okay. Okay.
I still use the term normies.
Yeah. I was just saying, it's just after I watched Q Into the Storm, and I've been ruined ever since.
Okay,
so it's good. But people who are normal, yes.
People that do not indulge in Star Wars quite as much as we do, I think, they tend to rank this movie, very, very high on their list. And that's fine. I'm not saying ranking it's not fine, but people almost use it as a weapon that it's the best thing that Disney Star Wars has ever done, claiming that the sequel trilogy is not real, disliking Solo, and then now, my one thing
maybe we should start a movement to remake Rogue One and just to irk them or something.
So wait.
I'm joking. No one do that. Please, no.
What I want to say, Jerry, stop cutting me off. God damn it. So what I want to say is
what I want to say.
Fuck. So go ahead. Let me talk. So what I want to say is that this movie is often used as some sort of weapon to make it seem like everything is invalid, but Rogue One is indeed a valid thing. And I don't know why people gravitate towards it in that way, because it's made by the same branch of people that pretty much made everything else in Star Wars. So I don't know. It frustrates me that this movie, has, at least to me, that kind of impression on people. Like, man, it's not Rogue One. It's not Rogue One. But I think I know the reason why. The reason why is because it's OT. It really is the original trilogy. I know it takes place 2 days before, but it's the thing that people are comfortable with. People are still not comfortable with the prequels, right? They're just not. So they gravitate towards this movie because it's the closest thing we will ever, and probably, unless they make a movie between A New Hope and, Empire, it's just the closest thing we have to an original trilogy movie. And it will always be.
And it doesn't challenge.
Oh, yeah, sorry, you go.
It doesn't challenge anything about the original trilogy, right?
No.
My father never saw a movie after Force Awakens because the only thing he said about it was, you can't kill Han Solo. Okay. And then Last Jedi it pushes a lot of what people think about Star Wars and think about the Force and what did Luke do after all that kind of stuff. And then people felt like, oh, that's not my Luke Skywalker. All of the sequel, and then Solo, it gave you a backstory to a character that a lot of people didn't want a backstory to. And I'm not saying I dislike Solo, but it doesn't challenge anything about it. It fits very neatly within the cog. not only tonally, but story-wise. It fills in your plot hole if you want to talk about that. And then there's fan service in it, and it doesn't contradict anything about the original trilogy. So you can enjoy Star Wars, you can enjoy new Star Wars without challenging any of your preconceived notions about how it should be. And that's why people love it.
That's true. And I just see people, honestly, I see people that are like, who maybe go see a Star Wars, once every 2 years, really. This is kind of, they probably don't watch The Mandalorian, they just go see the movies. And it's those kind of people that are like, man, that's the best Star Wars ever made. And
those people watch The Mandalorian. They put Baby Yoda in it. Those people watch Mandalorian.
Sure.
Just for the memes.
From my point of view, like the conversations I've had with people, I've never really understood the whole prequel hate, apart from, because obviously, the prequel hate, I come from the generation, so naturally I will defend it. But also, a lot of the people that are very outspoken against it were either growing up with the original trilogy or were in the media and had the opportunity to sort of, speak out against it. From my point of view, I think the majority of normal people like all of like the normal Star Wars films. Like I'll go, do you like The Force Awakens? Yes, it was good.
Yes.
Do you like Episode 8? Yeah, it was good. Do you like Episode 3? Yeah. Like, I've never met like a really, really negative reaction unless they're a fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I feel like Rogue One just like people just like watching films. Like I think people put too much pressure or like, and again, this is something that bothers me is that the internet is a weird place, and it's I think we forget that Twitter is a very niche audience.
Yes.
And ever since the films have come out, there's been very strange criticisms about stuff. One of the things that really baffles me is people who complain about Vader being out of character in Rogue One because he makes a joke. Have you seen Anakin Skywalker in any film?
Thank you.
He makes jokes all the time.
Even in Empire, when he says "apology accepted, Captain Nita."
Yeah.
That guy's dead. He doesn't. Yeah.
You broke his neck, and you're talking to no one but yourself.
The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am. It's like he's a comedy genius. He does it in the prequels.
I find your lack of faith disturbing. Come on.
Yeah.
He does it. He does it in all the films, and I feel like that's a weird thing that people. I think it's like a Twitter thing. I don't know what it is. It's like a weird criticism where people try and make points. I feel like if Twitter was around in the 70s and 80s, people would when Empire came out, they go, "Oh, they said, I've got a bad feeling about this. Copying A New Hope much."
Like, it's just a rehash. It's all a rehash.
Oh, they're just copying dialogue. It's like, it's a movie.
But isn't that the thing though? That us people like us, people who do podcasts and websites and all the stuff that we do, are like barely 1% of the audience of who go and see a Star Wars film. And so we're the ones. You ask 99% of general cinema goers who go and see a film, once a month or something, and go, do you go to StarWars.com? They go, Star Wars. What? They don't even know there's an official site, or they won't know there's an insider, or they won't know they won't know anything. So certainly won't know about Fantatrax or Bombadcast or anything else. It'll mean nothing to them. They'll just think they won't know. So it's only us the Petri dish that's going round and round in circles, talking about this stuff. And I think with the prequel trilogy, it's a great point. I was Phantom Menace 99, so I was 28 when that came out. So I've been doing my first website for like 3 or 4 years by then, and all sorts of other bits and bobs. And so I was fairly steeped in it and reading the books. Obviously, Edge of the Empire was 91, so you had all the 90s of stuff coming out leading up to it, special editions and everything else. So it wasn't expected, let's put it that way. But then when you go and see Phantom Menace, you imagine you've only seen Star Wars Empire and Jedi, obviously the cartoons and holiday special, and all the other little bits and bobs, and then you go and see Phantom Menace. It proper was a shock because it was so different, visually mind-blowing, but everything else was like, hang on. I admit at first I saw it in the States the first time, so flew over to see it and came out of the cinema and looked at my best mate who I'd flown with and just basically said, "What the was that?" It really did. I felt like I'd be slapped around the head with a kipper. And then we went back to the hotel and then walked back up the strip. We was in Vegas, so walked back up the strip the next morning, got tickets for the first show and watched it the second time and got about 2/3 through and looked at it and went, I get it now. It took a bit of time to soak in because this is not this is not A New Hope. This is not Return of the Jedi. This is something completely different. And so you kind of had to grow into it. But there was no Twitter. There was no social media. The internet was completely archaic compared to what it is now. You know, it was 20 plus years ago. So you get to now when a film comes out, within 30 seconds of leaving the cinema, I could be talking to all you guys.
Literally.
What do you think of that? You know, and it's just straight away. You know, it's like when I was a kid, the internet was the playground. It was the kids you knew at school that you were talking to. Now the internet is literally the entire world, isn't it? So it's just a different background to everything.
I actually really like that, and that kind of perfectly rounds up the discussion because you know you hear and see so much that may be fabricated just to piss you off, right? Like there's a lot of the things that we encounter, unfortunately, on the internet are literally designed to piss you off. And I think
know one tweet in particular, Scotty.
Oh, do you?
Oh yes, that was the killing blow. That was the killing blow right there. Thank you, very well done, Mark.
From all the way across the pond.
Oh, he did leave.
Oh, he's quit. He's tapped out now.
He tapped. I think Scotty. I'm getting a text. Scotty says, "I quit. I don't want to do this anymore." So we're good. We're good. Okay.
All right. No, I think. I'm sorry. I think it is this idea of like it's the nerds and we care and we're gonna overanalyze. Oh, he comes crawling back. I care. I think it's just because like it is within your personality to enjoy what Star Wars is and just have fun with it and say, yeah, but it was fun. Like there are lots of like Rogue One. We'll use that example. The Vader scene, the first Vader scene in the castle with the choke on your aspirations and all that. The film is objectively, if you're not a fan and you're not a nerd like us, it is objectively better if that scene's not in it. You build far more anticipation. You like when Tarkin says and summon Lord Vader, you go, oh fuck, he's gonna be in this. Yeah. It's objectively a better movie, but it's just fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it. You may not have enjoyed it, but Star Wars fans will take those things, and if you didn't enjoy it, then you'll scream at everyone. And people always talk about how toxic the fan base and all that kind of stuff is. All fan bases are toxic. People are terrible. Have you go on
the internet?
Any sport, choose any sports team that like has a large following matters. Go onto Reddit or whatever message board you want and follow a game.
Arsenal fans,
and you will see people say the worst things to each other about a game, and then it's the same thing. We are now saying the word, and I love baseball, and I'm watching, I'm having a good time, and I will say terrible things about the manager of my favorite team because I'm a guy at home who disagrees. And Star Wars has armchair quarterbacks too. So when we talk about the toxicity of the fan base, it's not fun, it's not cool, but like it's not unique either.
No.
Yeah, I know. What you said about Vader is perfect. Like, is deleting that scene going to make the film flow a bit better? Probably, and it might make the surprise more special. But if you're as a filmmaker saying, "Look, we can introduce the fact that Darth Vader has a butler," and you don't put that in the film, you deserve to be fired.
Oh my gosh.
I want a Darth Vader YouTube channel where he tells people his daily routine and
you see him bathe. It's lovely.
Have any of you seen Chad Vader, which is his brother who works at a grocery store? I love Chad Vader. So.
I want to know Darth Vader's skin routine.
That's not good.
Loads and loads of back.
The dude was in a volcano.
And good intentions.
He's still alive.
There's a reason why he's Hayden Christensen in the Kenobi series. That's what I'm saying. You know, he's moisturizing. He's just maybe he hires his butler in that series.
What if he still looks actually pretty good? Like the Bacta is healing him up in the Kenobi series. He looks more like
That'd be kind of cool
without arms and legs, but he goes out in the sun in like board shorts and like a tank, and he just like completely, the Tatooine sun's just absolutely like there's a whole scene where he becomes Sebastian Shaw and Ewan becomes
so intense.
Yeah.
You should pitch a show called Back to Perfection because I think you've got a plot there.
Oh, you know what?
Perfect.
Disney, guys, Lucasfilm, call me. It'll be the first in-universe reality show. That's what we'll do. There you go.
Wow, that was
The
brilliant.
Real Housewives of Mustafar.
Yes. Reagan. Yes. Sorry, I had to do that real quick.
Real quick, I want to say this too. This is a fantastic discussion. I'm so glad we can get it and figure it out.
Absolutely.
And look, I will admit it. This episode turned me around on
Visual.
Rogue One.
Classic, isn't it?
It's a metaphor.
I really do mean that because
You are a
sometimes-
teacher, aren't you? You are
Yes.
a teacher.
you need to have these conversations. You really do. I think it's important to, if there's someone in your life that may dislike something and you want to convince them otherwise, get 5 people in here to attack them for it for a couple of hours in a live public forum and people in the chat hurt you for it. I mean, it's great. It really does help you a lot mentally. And I think I really do mean that though. I think you really, all of you in this group kind of did take this movie, and it's not going to go up on my list, but it helps me enjoy it more now. And I'm going to go watch it probably at some point.
Good, because I know where you live.
Yeah,
Scotty, we can now change it we changed it before to the trial of Scott J-Ro. I think we can change it to the therapy session of Scotty
Redemption.
J-Ro now.
Is this
The redemption. This is your
this
Cassian.
your 3-movie redemption arc?
This is your
it.
redemption arc. Now listen, this is your Rogue One right here because it happens in one movie. But real quick, just to maybe to end on something a little lighter or something before we move on or whatever, Scotty. Over under Cassian Andor, young Cassian Andor appearing in Bad Batch at any point.
Wait, what are you?
'Cause
Okay, so what are you setting the over under at? Like more likely or less likely? That's it, or is there? some odds
just
that
like
you're
or
setting?
100%, or I don't know. Over under
Good shout.
50%. Over under 50%.
Okay.
Because it's
Over.
just like us talking about Saw and him and seeing Saw, and that made me really go, that would be very interesting to have him interact with clones
Yes.
as a young
Mentions that in the
boy.
book in Catalyst, I think, or not Catalyst, I think,
Right.
in the Rogue One novelization.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Really, really cool.
That is a good book. I actually read that book.
We could, and they could tweak
Give
it.
me
They've
more.
said, they tweak stuff, like obviously people were, with the first episode. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same reason why I love seeing Din as a separatist as well, or at least not separatist, but in the Clone Wars, like we get to see the battle droids.
right.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see Cassian maybe fight against the clones and seeing him get picked up in different groups. We know that Bail Organa pretty much, and the rest of the group that we see in the Revenge of the Sith deleted scenes came together and sort of was starting the rebellion. So maybe we'll get to see a bit of that and how they're subtly introducing these rebel cells or building them up.
That'd be sick. Maybe meet his parents. And I'm not even kidding. That would be really cool,
Yeah.
You get some more of that layering to it. Troy, what do
Very
you think?
interesting.
I'm gonna say under.
Under? Okay.
Okay.
I just think, and now you do have a lot of episodes of this show, but they're going to have much shorter run times. They're going to be true like little TV episodes, and you got a lot of stuff to cover. I think that it's going to be Eric and I have talked about it. I'm sure he's talked about it with you, Scotty. Like something's going to happen where we're going to get an official explanation of why the clones aren't the army of the Empire anymore.
Yeah, of course.
Some stuff's going to go down. And do you really have time to go see everybody? It'd be cool. I'm not gonna say it's like 0, but I would put it under 50.
Okay.
I'd say like 30, like a 1 in 3 shot ish.
I think I put it right at 50, honestly, because I just really want now. I just thought of this is why I freaked out for half a second, sort of quietly to myself. Imagine young Cassian interacting with young Omega. I mean, and that's just my heart.
How old is Cassian in Bad Batch? He's like a teenager,
He's been
right?
fighting since he was 6 years old.
He's been fighting
since he was 6,
I mean,
but
he
he's
would
probably
be maybe a little
teenager.
older.
Yeah.
He would be maybe a little older. I would say maybe around 13, 14, maybe. I don't know.
Does he have a
old is he in Rogue
canonical
One?
age in Rogue One?
I don't remember.
Because Rogue
Everyone-
One is 19 years after.
Age doesn't factor in Star Wars. I
will say though,
yes,
I think it's unlikely, but
right.
if you were to have young Cassian, you got to do what they did with Kanan and get Diego Luna to do a pre-pubescent.
Yes, please do that.
A little Cassian voice.
That'd be great.
Hey, everyone.
Well, I think
I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old.
And I'm 7 now.
I think they pitched Freddie Prince's voice in post, but I agree 100% that would be great.
Absolutely.
Mark, what about you? Do you think over under?
Over. I think that's a cracking idea, and I think there's only 1,000 people in the entire Star Wars galaxy, isn't there? So they've got to. Everybody's going to meet everybody else. Everybody goes into a cantina and knows who Dr. Rafa or Hondo and Acker is. So they've got to meet. They've got to meet.
Yes.
So, but I think as a concept, I think it makes sense and I think also you're going to have a lot more synergy between shows, animated to live action and back again. So I think sort of if they can tee up an episode, or they can tee up Andor, let's say, with an episode of the Bad Batch showing this young kid Cassian, I don't know. The Bad Batch are like the A-team, so you imagine BA just turns up and what kid's not going to love that? So here's Wrecker turns up and shows Cassian how to fire a gun or something. I can see it. It might not happen. It's a
Uncle
great
Wrecker.
concept, but exactly. I'd put it up there. I'd put it over 50%. Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay, cool. I'm in the same camp as you. That makes the most sense to me.
I love it.
Let's bring them in and make it work really well. But gentlemen, before we sign off, we do one tradition here in the Bombadcast. For any new person, we welcome you into the what we call the one and only club here. And
the one and only club. Yes.
We play.
Welcome, Mark and Charlie. Yes.
And
Admiral, you are sir. Admiral, sir, you are already a part. But go ahead.
Yes.
I've already been hazed.
Yes, you've been hazed. It's brutal. And this is the hazing right here. Now, for any of you that doesn't know, Paul Stanley is my neighbor. He lives right over here. He'll storm in every now and then. And he always wants me to play this for our new guests just to know that it exists. And so this is my gift from him to you two. Enjoy.
This is your wake-up call. Time to reach, go for it all. Vultures stir inside of me, and I know what I can be. Limit is the sky. Hey world, watch me fly. The best part of waking up is vultures in your love.
Can you tell us what the theme of that commercial is? Is it circus or magic show? Because I don't know. I think it's both. But
I think there's a lot of hidden things in it, so it could be magic.
I mean, that's the first time I watched. That's the first time I watched Batman Forever for a while.
Oh,
I feel bad for Robin, but he had to have
fantastic.
That drink.
You had to think the guy who's directed that commercial. How do we end this? Paul, do you do any magic? Just phase him out of the shot. Just phase him out of the shot.
He just disappeared.
Oh,
yes.
guys.
Well, these two guys are gonna need a cup of Folgers if we keep going. So
yes,
we're gonna.
It's late. Mark, let's hear about your show, man. Where can everyone find you?
Oh, you can find me at Fantha Tracks, where I'm daily posting nonsense and silly stuff, and I'm Making Tracks, which is one of our podcasts on the network. Or if you want to read my stuff, I write for Star Wars Insider and occasionally for StarWars.com, and very regularly for Starburst magazine. So there's all sorts of nonsense out there, but Fantha Tracks is the main place to find me.
Well, everyone should find him there. He's one of the greatest. Charlie, what about you, bud?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I can't do the pointing thing below.
Yeah,
You've got it.
Be a weatherman. Come on. Yeah. No.
Yeah, over here it's going to be raining. You can also find me on the Imperial Senate podcast. We're on Twitter at ImpSenatPod. We do a podcast every now and then. We do it every week, where we talk nonsense.
Once in a while.
Star Wars. We're currently doing a show every Sunday. So if you go to our YouTube page, you should be able to find us there. We talk about the Bad Batch on our show called The Bad Batches.
Yes.
A title that we spent about 5 minutes on. And you can also everything about me. Like I've got a Patreon where I do other shows like Batman Returned, where me and my good friend Alden Diaz talk about the Batman films. We do film commentaries for all the different Batman films. We just finished the Christopher Nolan trilogy. So you can find that on my link tree, on my Twitter bio. So everything you can find me is all on there. So
perfect. Well, we're so lucky to have both of y'all. And, Troy, what do you have anything you want to say? Is there any comments you want to make? Because you don't really have anything you need to plug, do you?
No, you can't find me on the internet. You can find me deep in the oceans of Mon Cala.
Off the grid.
I am Admiral Radis.
Okay,
I am here to fight for the rebellion.
Well,
fantastic.
Look, we usually
Scotty,
end the
it's
show.
always a pleasure.
Oh, it's an honor, truly, to be converted.
Great to have you on again.
Rogue One
Thank
Faith
you coming on.
Jin,
Praise be with
H2, Baze, Shurit, Holy Ghost, for good. Now, look, real quick. I don't know who wants to do it. Mark and Charlie, you're both new here. I gotta get the Stay Bombad coming. We end every episode with Stay Bombad. You can choose who wants to do it, and then we'll end this whole thing together. That's it.
Mark knows how to
Charlie.
point, so there we go. It's got to be you, Charlie.
how do you want me to do this? How do you want me to just say Stay Bombad?
Yep.
Channel boss.
However
ass.
you want.
No pressure,
Hello
Charlie.
there. Stay Bombad. There you go.
All right, man. Stay Bombad.
Peace.
You shall all bomb back.